Hey guys, how's it going? Got a lot of comments from earlier in today about our family book club. So I just want to give a quick explanation of what it is, what it's about, how it all came about. So a couple years ago, we started to do these, what we call deep dive, slow digest. We pick a book based around personal development, relationship skills, or financial intelligence, and we would read it really slowly with my oldest son. My oldest son has pretty alternative education. We use some traditional, but a lot of alternative. And this is how it goes. What I decided was one book can overpower 10 books. And this is how. If you're actually reading it with someone else and going through it really slowly, digesting the lessons, talking about them, sharing real life results or stories that you've been through to match them, my son was just picking it up and learning it. And some of these books I had read a couple of times, like Richest Man in Babylon. I've probably read that 4 times. But the first time I went through it with my son and actually taught it and relayed back messages to him, game changer. I mean, the lessons really stuck. So we've been doing this for about 4 years now. And it started with me and my oldest son. Then my wife started to join in. And then now Leland, our second oldest son. Now our 4-year-old and our 2-year-old, they're not a part of this. But here's how it works. Every week, we go to dinner at our beach club on a Tuesday night. That's our night with the big boys. The 2 littler ones, Maggie and Sammy, again, they're 4 and 2. They go into the Kids Cove, which has puzzles and games and all sorts of things. They get to order their own food, and it's great. They love it. And we get this time with our older teens, because let's face it, sometimes, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old can take the show. And we wanted to be with just our older boys. So we started to have conversations and also bring our book club into Tuesday nights. So this semester, see if I get in here, you can see my dog-eared copy of Outwitting the Devil. Now, if you haven't heard of this book, Napoleon Hill, like most of my entrepreneur friends know, had a huge influence on so many of us. His Think and Grow Rich, one of the best-selling books of all time, I think is responsible, I think they say, for more millionaires than anyone, had a profound effect on my life. And then when this book came out, Outwitting the Devil, it was written about 78 years earlier, and they couldn't release it. His wife begged him not to release it because it's pretty controversial on different things to look at. Not in a bad way, but just questioning how do we live the best life that we can, involving wealth and relationships and just some norms of society. And I love the book. It had a huge impact on my life. Again, coming out of 2008, which is a horrible time for a real estate investment company like ours, we were that close to bankruptcy. And I'd say the lessons in this book really held me strong. And obviously we recovered and took things up. And then as we went into the family business, working with families, I knew that this was going to be one of the books that we'd read with my sons. This is the first time I'm reading it with my sons. I've read it 3 times before. You can see actually, I can open to almost any page and there's just notes upon notes of underlines and marks. And you can't see it in here, I know, a little sloppy, but it's been just a huge book for me. So we're sharing it with my son. So this fall, again, we're not listing out 10 books. And I think, when you try to have your kids say, all right, read this book, write a 1-page summary, and we'll pay you $100. I get it, but we tried that and they really didn't get the lesson. But if I'm reading it with them, if I'm their partner, again, we go into all sorts of book clubs with other people, and I think that's great. But to be honest, with my busy schedule, I'm not getting any other book clubs because the only one that I want to make sure I'm holding myself accountable to is the one with my family. So this is the only one I'm in. I do it with my family, and we get together every Tuesday night, and we only read 1 to 2 chapters a week. So if you're a crammer, like I am, ADD, red, crammer, if you're a crammer, you can still get the work done right beforehand. And what Jamie and I try to do is we read it beforehand, we write down some notes, some clarifying questions, have some examples ready in our own life that might play into effect or questions to ask the boys, and we have a great discussion. Again, we're going through it really slow, 1 to 2 chapters a week. And then by the end of the fall, this book will come to an end, and what we have the boys do is prepare a little presentation of highlights and biggest reflections and lessons and takeaways from the book. It's a really nice way. They say you teach it, you own it. It's a really nice way to tie it all together. It practices their presentation skills. And again, it's just between us and our family. Once in a while, we'll have another family join us. But it just concretes the lesson. So we're doing that with Outwitting the Devil. Again, if you don't know anything about this book, it was extremely controversial, wasn't released. Napoleon Hill, it was released years after he was deceased. And again, it's been had one of the most profound effects on my life. When I posted that today, I got private notes saying, that's one of my favorite books of all time. Can't wait to join you. And it was great to see. I mean, we have people from all different areas of entrepreneurship and different professions wanting to read this with us. So if you'd like to join us, there's no catch on this. Because frankly, we're doing this whether you guys join us or not. Again, we've been doing this for a few years, but I said to Jamie last night, why don't we let other families in the tribe join with us? And so here's how it's going to work. All you got to do is buy yourself and go right on Amazon a couple copies of this. Again, I have my old dog-eared copy. Jamie got me a new one. I don't think I'm going to use it, though, because I love all my notes in my old one. And every Tuesday we're getting together. So on Mondays, I'm just going to release like a pre-work. Tell you, hey, so use me to cheat off of. This is what this chapter's about. We're going to be reading this. For the first one, we're going to be reading the first chapter. Here's what this week's reading was about. Here are some main lessons. Here are some things I'm going to be bringing up to my boys. Here's some examples of my story, that I think can tie in, because I like to be really vulnerable and honest with them of my triumphs and failures through the book or people we might know. And then we just have a great discussion. So I'll give you guys some pre-work of what we'll be going over, the chapter, and I'll even give you a cheat sheet. Hey, if you didn't get a chance to read it, here's what it's about. And then we'll have our date, and then on Wednesday morning, I'll ask for a post-reflection. I'm going to tell you, here's what came up for us in our conversation. Here's what the boys really were like, whoa, that's a pretty big lesson, and just what we're going to do moving forward. So on Wednesday, I'll be doing a post-reflection. Hey, we went over chapter 1. They really enjoyed this. I brought this up. Here's how it went. And next week, we're going to be meeting. We're just doing chapter 2. So read to this point, because some of the chapters are longer than others. But again, I really only aim to go about 25 pages or less. Because that way, again, if you have to cram, you don't have to read that much. And again, we're digesting that slow digest, that deep dive to really get the lessons. If you go through it slowly, and so I don't care about grades with this. I tell my kids, there's no grades here. I don't care about grades here. I care about learning. Because my famous saying with my sons is, I'm going to tell you bad jokes all day long, but I won't lie to you. And I'm telling you, the books that we read will help you in some huge dynamic in your life down the road. And now, especially my oldest son, he's like, Dad, you're crazy, but I'm starting to believe you. Because the books that I'm going through, he's seeing ways to apply them in his teen life and things he's getting into in entrepreneurship now at 16. So that's pretty exciting for me to have that trust with my son. And I think with the books that we pick, especially this one, this was a game changer in my thought process, my bigger picture thinking, really in my confidence as well. So that's what we're going to be sharing. So if you want to join us, there's no catch, there's no sign up or anything. We're doing it anyway. We'd love to have you join us. The conversations can be epic. Epic what happens on these Tuesday night dinners with our Deep Dive Slow Digest. So this fall is just going to be Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. You can order it on Amazon. We're going to start next Tuesday. We're meeting tomorrow to kind of get things going. But if you'd like to join us, all you do is buy the book and know by next Tuesday, and I'll send you some reminders, we're going to have read the first chapter. And man, it's pretty interesting to learn about Napoleon Hill. He's talking about how the mafia was after him and he was at a low point in his life and some of the lessons that came out of it. So it's a pretty strong start on some pretty big topics. And I'm excited to be reading it with the boys. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to join us. I see a bunch of people are on here already. That's it, though. So Outwitting the Devil, it's a deep dive, slow digest. And people say, well, how old do our kids have to be? Your kids should probably be at least 9 or 10. By 11, they're definitely ready. But even if you only have smaller kids and you and your spouse read a book like this together, the conversations that it can start to bring up to clarify family values and things that you guys really want to teach, absolute game changer. So even if you have younger kids, if they're 8 or 9 or 10, you might want to help read it with them, or just you and your spouse join us. And you guys have this once a week where you're at dinner and you're going to talk about this. I'm telling you, just tying this in and going deep is huge for our family. When people say you do all this alternative education, what's one of your secrets? This simple thing of having our family book club, reading one book in the fall, one book in the winter, one book in the spring, and then we usually take summers off. We're only talking 3 books a year, but we go deep in them, and we really share a lot about each other, and it's been a huge thing. So if you want to join us, again, we're going to be reading Outwitting the Devil. Some of you probably have a dog-eared copy like me with tons of notes. It'll be my 4th time reading it, first time with my entire family. Actually, me, Jamie, Alden, Leland, the 2 little ones are not invited to this meeting at 4 and 2. They're just not ready. But the conversations and the clarity we get and the camaraderie, and again, the trust that my kids build. Every time I bring a book like this to them, a no bullshit book that's really going to help them personally and professionally, they respond. And I think that's a really powerful thing. So if you want to join us, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday night. You guys can pick the night, but no, on Monday nights or Mondays, I'm going to send you out the pre-work. Hey, this is what's happened in this next chapter. Here's some questions we're going to be discussing with our boys. Here's some stories I'm going to be sharing. And then the day after, on Wednesday, I'm just going to say, hey, here's how our meeting left. Here's how it went. And if you want to share some reflections after discussing with your kids, we can have some really cool conversations, because it's nice to see, wow, my kids brought that up too. Wow, my son brought that up too. Wow, addiction was actually brought into that, and I didn't see that. Wow, they talked about money in a way that I've never heard it. These are just some things that have happened for us. So if you'd like to do it, and again, if your family's close or far, you can do it by phone. I like to do it at dinner. It's one night a week. Our dinner conversation is the book in the book club, and it's this one, again, for the next 90 days about. Again, our fall semester, then we have a winter book and a spring one. So that's it. If you guys want to join us, we'd love to have you. Just buy the book on Amazon. I'll send out more information, but starting next week, chapter 1 of Outwitting the Devil. And when you read these books slowly and share it with your kids and your spouse, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's one of the strongest bonding things we do as a family. So I hope you guys will join us. It's great to see some familiar faces there. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care. I'm going to tag everyone that showed interest in this little update so that you can watch this again, see what we're doing. Very straightforward then. Again, the solution doesn't have to be as complicated as the problem. We're taking a book. We're going through it really slowly so that if you have to cheat, if you're super busy, you only have to meet about a half hour a week on it over a few pages, but it's a slow build, and that slow build, you'll be happy to see where we're at the end of the fall. At least that's what's happened for me the last few times. So again, Napoleon Hill's famous Outwitting the Devil. It actually hasn't gotten enough credit from what I think it should, but it's a great read. You're going to learn some things about yourself, your family, and things that maybe you look at and you can look at a little differently to help strengthen your family life and prepare your kids better for the practical affairs of life and maybe give them advantage over what we all had. So that's the goal here. Join us. Looking forward to it. Take care, guys.